Hello and welcome to News 9 Facebook Live once again with me, Adarsh Vepachedu. Now, the entire country is racing against time. The entire world, for that matter, is racing against time to ensure that a vaccine is sought at the earliest. And one of the countries that has shown a bit of promise happens to be Russia. But given the fact that the data pertaining to the vaccine was not released, and when it comes to the clinical trials itself, we've seen a very accelerated phase of clinical trials. So there were a bit of doubts, red flags that were raised against the vaccine coming in from Russia. But ever since countries started demanding the Russian authorities for all kinds of data pertaining to their vaccine, Russia, in a sense, has begun to respond. And in the latest, Russia has gone ahead and has shared comprehensive data pertaining to its COVID-19 vaccine, Sputnik 5, with India. Now, Russia has shared details of the vaccine's safety and also efficacy. And this was in response to the fact that India had earlier sought all information from the Russian-based Gamaleya Research Institute of Epidemiology, which was the institute responsible for the development of the vaccine. Now, India at this point in time is deeply engaged with Russia on the vaccine front, and India is also conducting a separate phase 3 clinical trial in the country. Now, yes, when it comes to the trials itself, when you're talking about a certain vaccine coming in from another country, if India or any other country for that matter wishes to make use of that vaccine, if it's coming in from another country, then that country needs to ensure that they are conducting their own bit of clinical trials to see as to how this vaccine responds, or how people of that country respond to that particular vaccine. And in line with that, you may as well have a phase 3 clinical trial for the Russian vaccine that will be conducted here in India. This, of course, after getting all the necessary regulatory approvals. Now, when it comes to the results of a study that were published in the Lancet Medical Journal, it clearly revealed that Sputnik 5 produces an antibody response in all participants in early stage trials at least. So whether that were really the case or not was a big question mark. And with the recent study published in the Lancet, that doubt has now been allayed. There's a clear-cut indication that this particular vaccine coming in from Russia does indeed prompt an immune response from a human being. Now, the two trials that we were talking about, phase 1 and phase 2, were conducted in June-July period and involved just about 76 participants. Now, again, we're talking about phase 1 and 2. Put together, you should at least ideally have hundreds to thousands of participants. But in this particular case, in Russia, you've only had phase 1 and phase 2 trials that were conducted on just 76 participants. So that itself was one of the biggest concerns as to how there's a limited selection of participants for this for the Russian vaccine. Now, according to the report published in the Lancet, it showed that 100% of the participants, all of them, developed antibodies with not very serious side effects, so to speak. And in the latest, India has joined the list of 20 countries that have expressed interest to be part of Sputnik 5's phase 3 clinical trials. That was not the case earlier, but now India has also expressed its interest. The Russian government in the past had reached out to India seeking collaboration for manufacturing Sputnik 5 and also conducting its phase 3 clinical trial. But again, this was at a time when not much was known about the Russian vaccine, and hence they did not really get a positive response from the Indian side. But now that you have data being published, you've got journals on the Lancet suggesting that yes, the Russian vaccine does indeed work, India seems to be now a little more interested than before. Now, looking back once again, on the 11th of August, Russia registered what it claims is the first coronavirus vaccine. The COVID-19 vaccine has been jointly developed by the Gamaleya Research Institute and Russia's Defense Ministry, and it is considered to be the first vaccine candidate against the novel coronavirus to get registered. It said that mass production of the vaccine will begin in the month of September itself. In fact, latest reports have suggested that the Russian vaccine could be available for public use in Russia as early as the end of this particular week. On the other hand, back home in India, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh on the 4th of September during his visit to Moscow for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet said that the coronavirus vaccine being developed by Russia will be effective. So sudden amount of interest that we have shown ever since Russia began opening up on their vaccine. Now, that apart, Rajnath Singh also expressed confidence in the efficacy of Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine and touted the long-running partnership between the two nations, that is India and Russia. Russia's Sputnik V will most likely be released for civilian use next week or by the end of this week. At least that's what reports at this point in time are currently suggesting. So that's where things stand when it comes to the Russian vaccine. And yes, two major updates. One is that the study published in The Lancet has indicated that yes, there is an antibody that is created. Antibodies are created in the person who is injected with the vaccine, and there is a certain amount of immune response that is also observed. That apart, you have data being shared out by the Russians over the vaccine, and they've done that with India. And India certainly is a big market for Russia, and the kind of ties the two countries have shared, one cannot be surprised, one should not be surprised if we will soon have a Russian vaccine in the market. Well, that's all I have for you in this brief interaction on Facebook and YouTube. If you've liked the details that I've shared with you, the information that I've given you, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to News9 on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Many thanks for joining us.